to give it up for this great performance of it. Thank you for that. I have a little cheat sheet, so bear with me. Okay, that's an actual dog. This is a predominantly white crowd. Many of them probably don't understand the meaning of black hair, its history, its intimacy, and how it's politicized. Afro hair is not just a style or aesthetic. It carries something deeply personal, cultural, and political, especially in countries like Germany, and especially in a crowd like this that is mostly white. What does Afro hair mean to you emotionally, culturally, and politically?
So emotionally, of course, it's a big part of my identity, but it's like it's made a part of my identity. So in school or at other places, people would make comments or would touch it, not before asking, and then it's like you start thinking about it as, oh, it's a thing, even though for you, you know, everything that is part of yourself for you is normal, and until someone else tells you, no, it's not, something is special, you know. And then you somehow need to reclaim this thing for yourself, like your Afro hair, be like, oh yeah, true, this is as part of my identity as a black person. But also how can I treat my hair well? So this is actually already kind of a political issue within that. And then also learning about like African American movements where Afro hair has like a lot of meaning. But also I've been braiding my hair since I'm a little child, so this is also a huge part of my identity. And it's not just an aesthetic, it's like the whole, you know, being at a person's place, talking, eating, in my case, Nigerian food, having kids around, you know, it's like it's a whole community, it's a culture, it's a community experience. And I mean, within different African countries, hair has such a deep meaning, you know, and it's always part of like community self-care somehow, that comes with that beauty. So coming back to what it means to me in Germany, it's really this also that kind of community feeling. I also would, you know, meet with friends and we would just, you know, treat my hair together. So it's like, yeah, it's all of that somehow.
I get that. So you've spoken about your work as a way of reclaiming space and telling stories that are often unheard, especially in German contexts like you basically just touched on. Can you share how being socialized in Germany has impacted your art?
My art in general. So in my art, I have the approach that everything that happens to me is not just a single individual story. There's always a political, a social, and historical context to it. So for example, when I started with the project Harry Seduction, it started with me being annoyed, I was broke, I didn't have money to treat my hair well, or I didn't have connection, I felt very isolated. But then that was not only my story, this is how many other black women in Germany feel as well, like this kind of pressure. And then coming, you know, just going further to, okay, why all of us feeling like this? What is the actual root of that? And then this is how the research starts all the time. So I think it doesn't really matter if I'm in Germany or somewhere else, but it's always like, okay, this is my experience, but it's not just my own experience. And so I'm always trying to make this kind of connections, I would say.
So connection between what you lived through and your experiences and how you can visualize that in your art to make it like to make other people or give other people the opportunity to experience that basically, and to see it through your eyes.
Yes, and also to invite them to also think about, oh, okay, what is actually my own story and how is that connected to history, society, and politics, you know? Yeah.
Thank you. So speaking about this performance that we just saw, we only saw a small aspect of the greater project. We know that your photograph is like right around the corner. So everybody, if you haven't checked out the photograph, it's on your way to the toilets. Look at it, take your time to take it all in. But can you tell us more about the greater project, Hairy Seduction? What's the broader idea behind it, and what conversations or feelings are you hoping to ignite?
Okay, so the project is actually an interdisciplinary exhibition, or outside like this, and I showed it for the first time last year in Fortuna Wetten during 48 Hours Neukölln. And the performance that I actually did is also displayed as a video, like a video performance in that exhibition. And then there are the photographies and the costume and the monologues that you listen to during the performance are two friends of mine who are also Black women in Germany. And it was very funny because I just started to shave off my head and document it and see what comes up out of that. And then those two friends also decided, hey, I also want to shave my head. I was like, okay, cool, you want to be part of my exhibition, maybe you also want to do a monologue about it, and we can have this kind of exchange. And this is how I also realized, like, oh, okay, our topics are extremely similar, you know? And so in the monologues, for me, it's like really this anti-capitalist frame that comes with hair and generally beauty products, but not only like hair on your head, but also when it comes to body hair, which also carries a lot of stigmatization and also a certain type of beauty standards. And then I was also looking at you know, African American pop stars or rappers, and then they somehow also represent a certain beauty standard. And then I'm like, okay, like those images that I am seeing, I don't really feel connected to them. So how can I create my own and play a little bit with this like seductive kind of thing, but then make it all hairy somehow? And in the video installation, I have like a completely bald head, for example, and then like this hair like on the costume. And what was again the question?
Okay, we touched on it, like what's your broader perspective and idea?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's it.
But I have one additional question. I was going to ask you next, but you already kind of touched on it because it's very visual. You play with hair in your performance, and I was going to ask you about the hair that we saw on your costume. Whose hair is it?
Yeah, it's my hair and my best friend's hair, actually. Yes. Yeah, I was very glad that she donated it to me. Yes.
Beautiful. So you've shared that Hairy Seduction was not only a project of art, but also a deeply personal healing process for you. And a form of resistance and refuge during a time when the political climate in Germany was and still is shifting right. So how did the political climate in 2023 affect you, and what role did the project play for you during that time?
So I started in July 2023, and then like October, everything got super worse, and then at the same time there was this meeting where a lot of like far-right people had this meeting of build new concentration camps somewhere in the desert in northern Africa, and all of this came together. I didn't feel safe at my university, where I was also in a class with only white people, and I had a lot of very difficult conversations with them. My living situation was the same, so in like all my spaces I didn't feel safe at all. So I felt a lot of anxiety, and the biggest threat of anxiety is that it makes you freeze, you know, and you can't do anything anymore. So having my hair and this project was also in the process a sort of refuge, you know, where I felt like, okay, I'm here, I'm with my art, this is a place that I create for myself where I'm safe. And when I'm also trained in theater therapy, so I also have like this psychological or therapeutic perspective, because when you're going through a traumatic event, building some sort of refuge, whether it be in your mind, like with your imagination, or just small things that you can do, it helps you to be resilient and to still navigate the challenging world that you live in. So in this process, it really helped me to ground myself again and to feel like, okay, I can create change with my hands, you know. The costume looked very different at the beginning, and I made it. I can actually do that. I have this self-agency just in this small little moment for myself. And yeah, I think this is what it was about this exhibition. But generally, healing has like different faces and facets, and in like Western terminology, or like in a very capitalist way, we think like, okay, I worked through that, now I'm here, now I'm good, and chapter closed somehow. And that's not the case, you know. Just because I did a project about beauty standards doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me anymore. It's just that I have more awareness about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, there's something coming up, where is this coming from? Oh, okay, it's from this and that. And then I have a tool how to deal with this kind of feeling, and that is exactly what the resilience is also about. And I just realized I wanted to say something also to a question before, because I did a workshop, a creative writing workshop, also on this exhibition at another space, and the group, we were all female, and very diverse. There were also some white people, and we were generally reflecting on the topic of hair, what it means to us and what our history is with that. So it was very interesting, because also during the first exhibition I had so many interesting conversations coming up with like people saying, oh yeah, I can relate in that sense that for example, I was sick and my hair fell off, and this is how I felt because society saw me in this way. Or okay, I'm getting older, I'm also losing hair and I'm scared. How will people like see me? Or I stopped shaving my legs. That was a very big issue for me. So as I said at the beginning, that my work is an invitation to reflect on everybody's own story. That really happened during the workshop. They were like, yeah, true, this is my own experience with that. And then at the end, it was always the same root, you know. The root was always patriarchy, the root was always capitalism, the root was always white supremacy, even though we were a super diverse place. And that was very interesting for me to hear and to see. And I think this small workshop was also maybe a small set of healing for everybody in a very different sense.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to get to my last question. Yeah, there's. Thank you for that also. Yes, thank you. I'm going to get to my last question, and everybody, I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions from you. So if you have a question, you can ask your question right after. But there's a long history of Afro hair being regulated, appropriated, and erased. Your work refuses all of that. It creates space for pride, softness, and agency, like you explained yourself. How do you imagine your audience, especially this predominantly white audience today, should approach your work? What kind of listening or witnessing do you hope for?
Yeah, I think basically what I just shared, and then maybe not just, we are here, we witnessed my performance, and it's, how can I say? I feel this is just an example of how everyone can do work on themselves, and I think that especially with like these times we are going through, it's really, really important that all of us like take some moments or create a space where we think about our own history, you know? So my work is also about ancestry in like the widest sense, and all of us have ancestors, have like a history, have, you know, a lineage, something. And I think that in order to overcome and to challenge and to resist fascism, everybody has to do this work in their own kind of way and find a way how to resist all of those structures, all of this oppression that we're actually feeling, because today it's Palestinians, maybe tomorrow, also already a lot of black people, Africans are experiencing that. At one point we'll be queers are already experiencing that, so at one point it's not possible to look away anymore and to be silent and to be like, oh, okay. Because at one point, as my exhibition with hair, it somehow affects us all because we all have a history with hair. Also with like what is going on right now, it affects us all. So I think it's like an invitation to really think of that, of okay, what is my own history? How can I actually unlearn? How can I make a difference? It doesn't matter how small or big it is, but what is within my range. And it always, in my opinion, starts with really critically looking at yourself and do this kind of work and go through the frustration, just do it, it's okay, but please do it.
Okay. Any questions from you guys? Anybody? Okay, I need at least one question. We're not leaving. Yes, what's next?
So next, I'm currently working on another performance with two other black women living in Germany, and we are further exploring our lineage, our roots, our heritage, and I will do another costume for that performance, but it will be more in the traditional Nigerian sense, yeah. And yeah, this project is actually about cultural practice as a form of resistance. How to maintain my spirituality, my cultural knowledge, to not totally assimilate to a white supremacist culture, but to keep this identity. Yes.
Sounds beautiful. Give it up for Viv. Thanks a lot. That concludes our artist talk. Check out her work, the photograph around the corner. Talk to her, ask her all your questions in private if you want to, and have a great evening.